Hello, everyone. This is my review of Thunderbolts, or the new Avengers, I guess. I know I'm a bit late to the party on this one, so this is going to be a short review. Warning, there will be spoilers. I think most of the key plot points are pretty much already known anyway, but you've been warned in case you aren't aware of what happens. So, in a nutshell, Valentina, the female Nick Fury wannabe that we've seen popping up in Marvel streaming shows like Hawkeye and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is being impeached, mainly because she's suspected of carrying out unauthorized human experiments to create superhumans. To cover her tracks, she's destroying all the evidence of her activities. A lot of the evidence is kept locked away in an underground vault, and she plans to destroy all the records and technology and everything else that is kept there. Now, in addition, she wants to get rid of the superheroes that have been working for her, so they can't talk about any of the things that she's been doing. And she tricks Elena, the new Black Widow, US agent, Ghost from Ant-Man 2, and Taskmaster into going to the vault and eliminating one another. Ghost does succeed in killing Taskmaster before they figure out what's really happening, but then they're trapped inside the vault, unable to get out. Then they meet Bob, who was inside some sort of container in the vault and was awakened by the others fighting each other. Bob claims to not know where he is or how he got there or why. They also learn that the vault is a death trap that's set to incinerate everyone and everything in it, and a countdown starts. Now, eventually, Yelena, Ghost, US Agent, and Bob escape from the vault and then try to get out of the base. But when they leave, they discover that Val has arrived with a group of armed soldiers and has surrounded the place. They're able to overpower some soldiers, and then they put on the soldiers' uniforms, and then they use those to kind of bluff their way past the troops, and then they try to escape in a truck. They're about to be captured, so Bob basically sacrifices himself to allow them to escape. Now, while they're driving away, Bob is shot multiple times, but he turns out to be unhurt. Then he flies way up into the sky before falling back down to Earth, again completely unharmed. Eventually, we learn that Bob has volunteered for one of those unauthorized experiments that Val was conducting, and he was transformed into a massively powerful superhuman, which the government has codenamed the Sentry. He's a Marvel version of Superman, basically, but it's complicated by the fact that Bob is mentally unstable due to suffering abuse in childhood and also being a drug addict. Also, he doesn't seem to have much control over his powers. Now, the truck that Elena and the others are escaping in is wrecked. But then the Red Guardian, Elena's adoptive father, shows up in a limo. He works as a limo driver. And he tells them that he was driving Valentina to a media event in DC when he overheard Val talking about killing Elena and the others in the vault, so he drove out to help. They get in the limo and they try to escape, but they're chased down by Valentina's men in armored vehicles. A running battle takes place, but then Bucky arrives and he defeats Val's men and then captures Elena and the others. Bucky is a congressman now, and he's on the political committee that's trying to impeach Val. Val's assistant has begun to have second thoughts about what she's doing after seeing how willing Val is to kill dozens of people to cover her tracks, and she told Bucky about the whole vault trap thing. They tell Bucky about Bob, and they all agree to go to New York and confront Val and rescue Bob because Val has taken him there. It's at this point that Red Guardian declares their new team is the Thunderbolts after Elena's childhood soccer team. Yeah, really, that's where they get the name from. So the government has bought the former Avengers Tower, and Val is there with Bob. She convinces Bob to take on the role of the Sentry, and then he begins working to get a handle on his powers. The team arrives at the tower and they confront Val, but then she reveals Sentry and tells them that her plan is to have Sentry kill them, then claim they were all terrorists or something, and then reveal him to the public as the government's new superhero ready to take the place of the Avengers. Then she orders Sentry to kill them. Now, Sentry says he doesn't want to fight them and asks them to just surrender, but they wind up fighting anyway, and Sentry defeats them all easily. As they flee, Val urges Sentry to finish them, but Bob asks why, since they're clearly not a threat to him. Val tells Sentry that he needs to obey her, but he refuses, noting that she already said he's more powerful than the Avengers combined, and that pretty much makes him a god, so why should he listen to her? She realizes that she's lost control of him, and she had taken the precaution of having some sort of kill switch for Bob. They never say how it works, so I don't understand. But she has this little remote control thing that she can press a button and kill him somehow. So Val tries to use it, but he's too quick and she drops it. But then Val's assistant uses it and Sentry is apparently killed. After the fight, Sentry becomes the Void. The Sentry, it turns out, has a split personality, and his evil side is able to pull people into a sort of pocket dimension and makes them relive their fears and grief and shame and other awful experiences. He awakens and then begins pulling people in New York into this other dimension. The darkness that he creates begins spreading, eventually engulfing all of Manhattan. In the void, Elena eventually finds Bob, and then the other members of the team find them as well, and then they confront the void. Long story short, they defeat the void, who seems to be a personification of Bob's own shame and emotional torment, by hugging it out with Bob, basically, when they realize that the void is actually feeding on Bob's anger. Now, after the void is defeated, the darkness he created disappears, and everyone that he trapped in the void is free. Then Val introduces them to the public as the new Avengers, and that's the end. And then there's a post-credit sequence that shows the FF arriving on the MCU Earth in a spaceship. So, overall, The Thunderbolts is an underwhelming movie. Is it better than some of the other recent MCU movies? Yes. Is it a good movie itself? Not really. It's not awful, but it's a mediocre film at best. And make no mistake, this is an MCU film. While the film is presumably an ensemble cast, Elena is clearly the main character. And for what it's worth, Florence Pugh isn't bad. She's actually fine for the most part. But aside from Bucky, who admittedly gets treated pretty well in the film, the other male characters are all held up for mockery to some degree or another. Bob is a basket case. Red Guardian is there mainly to be loud and stupid. And US Agent is there mainly just to be a jerk and get mocked and lectured by the female characters. But my main gripe is there are just so many little things in this movie that don't make a lot of sense. Mainly, this involves Val, who is clearly supposed to be this female Nick Fury character, this slick political operator who's the smartest person in the room, or at least the most clever, and a step ahead of everyone else, but most of her moves don't seem very smart to me. Her plan to get rid of Elena and the others is pretty sloppy. Lure them into a room and then incinerate them, but the incinerator has a 2-minute timer on it, just like it's out of an old Bond movie or out of the Adam West Batman show. And there's even this big digital clock up on the wall that shows them the timer, that shows how long they have. I mean, why would you set that up? And her whole plan is to unveil Sentry to the public right before she's about to be impeached for unauthorized experiments to create superhumans. Now, if you were about to be impeached for creating unauthorized WMDs, let's say, and then you hold a press conference and you unveil a powerful new WMD that no one's ever heard of before, wouldn't that kind of prove that you're guilty of everything you're being accused of? So, how does this plan make sense? I guess Val's argument would be that this move would win the public over to her side and that the committee investigating her would see the shift in public opinion and decide that it's not worth pursuing it and drop the investigation. Maybe. I guess that just about makes sense. But Val never says anything like that. She never says why this is going to help her, leaving you to sort of kind of figure it out or go with it, I suppose. But the biggest plot hole in the movie is when Red Guardian gets hired as Val's limo driver. I mean, I'm no expert, but doesn't the government vet people for this sort of thing? Red Guardian is a former Soviet agent, a former Russian agent, and with relations between the US and Russia being what they are for the last few years or so, why would the government get the job of driving a high level government official around in a limo to a guy who's a former Soviet agent? I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's not like he hides the fact that he's the Red Guardian. I mean, he tells everyone who'll listen, and it's even written on the side of his limo. So that doesn't make sense. But then Val, who again is supposed to be this clever political strategist, blurts out her whole plan right in front of this limo driver that she doesn't even know. Oh, yeah, you're great at this stuff, Val, really. And another problem the movie has is that the first third or so of this movie is really slow. Now, fortunately, the movie's only about 2 hours long, so it doesn't really overstay its welcome. And admittedly, there is some good stuff in this movie. I really think the Sentry and the Void are actually handled pretty well. Bob is probably the best character in the movie, and the rest of the main cast are actually not bad, except for David Harbour as Red Guardian, whose whole bellowing idiot routine was already tired at the end of Black Widow. The film also has a distinct look and feel from the rest of the MCU. As others have noted, it looks and feels almost like a Snyder film, with muted colors, a desaturated palette, and it's a relentlessly dour and grim film. So I didn't actually hate it or anything. I will say if you're going to see it, make it a matinee. I'll give Thunderbolts 2.5 stars out of 5. Let me know what you think of Thunderbolts and my review down in the comments, and check out some of my other videos while you're here, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.